Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Tarot Talk Show. I'm your host, George Dus. It's been good being with you again. I hope you've been well since our last conversation. Maybe you've been sitting on some of the things we talked about in episode 1. How tarot isn't fortune telling, but something deeper. A mirror. A conversation with the parts of ourselves we didn't always know how to reach. Today, I want to talk about something that might seem simple on the surface, but runs much deeper than most people realize. We're talking about questions and how to ask them. Why the way we frame our curiosities matters as much as the cards we pull. I've been reading tarot for about 10 years on and off, getting really serious about it in the last 5 years. And I can tell you with complete certainty, the question you ask sometimes shapes everything that follows. It's like the difference between knocking on a door and kicking it down. Both might get you inside, but the energy you bring changes what you find waiting for you. Most people come to tarot with their hearts full of urgency. They want to know if their ex is coming back, if they get that job, if they should move to a new city, and I get it. Life is uncertain, and uncertainty can feel unbearing sometimes. But what I've learned, both from my own readings and working with clients over Zoom these past several years, is that the most powerful questions aren't the ones that try to pin down the future. They're the ones that open us up to seeing the present more clearly. The thing about tarot is that it doesn't respond to what you ask. It responds to how you ask it. The energy behind your question, whether you're approaching the cards from a place of fear or curiosity, whether you're trying to control outcomes or generally seek insight. So today we're going to explore this together. We'll talk about why certain questions leave us more confused than when we started. We'll look at how to reframe our curiosity in ways that actually serve us. And I'll share some stories from my own practice that might surprise you. Because here's what I've come to understand. Learning to ask better questions of the cards teach us to ask better questions of ourselves. And that skill, that changes everything. So let's dive in. I want to talk about Sarah, not her real name, but a real person that came to me for a Zoom reading about 3 years ago. She was in her early 40s going through what she described as the worst period of her life. Divorce papers filed, job she held for 12 years suddenly eliminated, her teenage daughter barely speaking to her. Sarah appeared on my screen with her hands folded tightly in her lap and said, "I need to know if things are going to get better. That's all. Just tell me it's going to be okay." I shuffled the cards, but something felt stuck. The energy in the room was heavy. Not with sadness exactly, but with this desperate need for reassurance. She wasn't really asking a question. She was making a plea. And tarot, I've learned, doesn't do well with pleas. It prefers genuine curiosity. So I set the cards down and said, "Sarah, what if instead of asking whether things will get better, we ask what you need to know right now to take the next step forward?" Her body language changed. Those tight shoulders dropped a little. She took a deep breath and I don't even know what that would look like. That's when we drew the cards, 3 of them. The Tower, which made her laugh despite herself. Well, that's accurate. The Star, which brought tears. And the 2 of Pentacles, which made her sit up straighter. But here's the thing. It wasn't the cards themselves that shifted everything. It was the question. By asking what she needed to know instead of demanding assurance about an unknowable future, Sarah gave the cards permission to meet her where she actually was, not where she wished she could be. We talked for about 40 minutes about the strange relief that comes with admitting when your old life isn't working anymore, and how the Tower isn't just destruction. It's about clearing the way of what was never truly stable to begin with. But how the Star appears not when everything is perfect, but when we're finally ready to hope again, even in the darkness. Sarah left that day with something I didn't think she expected. Not the certainty of future, but the clarity about the present. Not promises, but possibilities. She emails me sometimes. Life didn't magically become easier for her. That's not how it works, but she learned to ask different questions of herself. When her ex tried to provoke her during custody negotiations, instead of asking, "Why is he doing this to me?" she started asking, "What do I need to protect my own peace right now?" When job interviews didn't go well, instead of spiraling into, "Will I ever find it work again?" she asked, "What is this rejection teaching me about what I actually want?" Different questions, different answers, different life. That's what I mean when I say the way we ask matters. Sarah's story isn't unique. I could tell you about Marcus, who came asking if he should leave his marriage and left understanding what he really need to bring to it instead. Or Jennifer, who wanted to know if she would ever find love again and discover she never really learned to love herself. The cards don't lie, but they also don't perform miracles. What they do is reflect back to us the energy we bring to them. Come with desperation, and you'll get desperate answers. Come with genuine curiosity about your own inner landscape, and that's when the real magic happens. Let me share with you the kinds of questions I hear most often and why they tend to leave people feeling unsatisfied and confused. First, there's the yes or no trap. Should I take this job? Will he call me back? Is she the one? These questions seem straightforward, but they're actually asking tarot to do something it's not designed for. Tarot isn't the classic magic 8 ball. It's more like a skilled therapist. It works best when you give it something rich to work with. I had a client once who came to me for a Zoom session asking a string of yes or no questions. Should I move to Hamilton? Will my sister forgive me? Is my boss going to fire me? Each question got increasingly frustrated answers from the cards, unclear, contradictory polls that left us both feeling we were trying to have a conversation through a wall. So I asked, what if we step back? What's really going on with you right now? That's when it all poured out. She was feeling trapped in a life that didn't fit anymore, but terrified of making the wrong choice. She wasn't really asking about Hamilton or her sister or her job. She was asking about courage, about whether she could trust herself to navigate the uncertainty. So we reframed everything. Instead of, should I move to Hamilton? We asked, what do I need to understand about this desire for change? Instead of, will my sister forgive me? We explored how I can repair from a place of genuine accountability. Completely different reading, completely different outcome. The second pitfall is what I call future fixation. What's going to happen in my love life this year? When will I meet my person? How will my career unfold? These questions come from an understandable place. We need to feel prepared, in control. But they assure the future is fixed, already written, just waiting to be revealed. That's not how life works, and that's not how tarot works either. The future isn't a movie script we're just acting out. It's being created in every moment by the choices we make, the energy we bring, and the ways we show up. When we ask tarot to predict the future, we're actually asking it to ignore our own agency. We're saying, tell me what's going to happen to me, when what actually serves us better is, help me understand how to shape what's coming. The third pitfall is disempowered language. Questions that start with, why is this happening to me? Or when will this pain end? Or how do I get him to? These questions position us as victims of our own circumstances rather than active participants in our lives. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes we are generally dealing with things beyond our control. Loss, illness, betrayal. I'm not suggesting we positive think our way of our legitimate hardship, but even in the most difficult moments, we always have some agency, some choice about how we respond, what meaning we make, and how we move forward. I remember one session with a woman whose husband had left her after 30 years of marriage. She kept on asking variations of, how do I get him back? Why did he do this to me? And when will this heartbreak stop? I gently suggested we try something different. What if instead of asking how to get him back, we ask what you need to reclaim for yourself right now? The card that came up was the Queen of Wands. Confident, creative, self-poised, not at all what she expected, But as we talked, she started remembering parts of herself she set aside during those 30 years. Her love of painting, her dream of traveling alone, the way she used to laugh before she learned to make herself smaller. 6 months later, she sent me a photo from a solo trip to Italy, paint smudged on her cheek, smiling brighter than I ever seen it. Not because the cards predicted her future, but because the right question helped her remember who she was beneath the heartbreak. And that's what happens when we shift from asking what's going to happen to me to what do I need to know about myself right now. The cards stop being a crystal ball and start being a mirror. And honestly, the mirror is so much more useful. So, what does an empowering question look like? How do we approach the cards in a way that actually serves our growth rather than feeding our anxiety? First principle, ask about the energy, not the outcomes. Instead of, will I get promoted? Try, what energy do I need to bring to this opportunity? Instead of, is he my soulmate? Try, what does this connection reflect about my own readiness for love? This isn't just semantic wordplay. When you ask about energy, you're asking about something you actually have influence over. You can't control whether your boss promotes you, but you can absolutely shift the energy you bring to your work. You can't control whether someone else is your perfect match, but you can explore what this attraction and connection might be teaching you about yourself. Second principle, embrace the open-ended inquiry. The most powerful questions start with what or how or where. They create a space for surprise, for information you didn't know you needed. Like, what do I need to understand about this situation? How can I best support myself through this transition? Where am I being called to grow right now? And what is this challenge trying to teach me? These questions don't demand specific answers, they invite conversation. They assume that wisdom may come from unexpected directions. I like to think of it as a difference between integration and exploration. Integration has an agenda. It wants specific information to confirm what it already expects. Exploration is genuinely curious about what it may discover. Third principle, focus on your own agency. The most empowering questions are about your choices, your response, your growth. They acknowledge that while you can't control everything that happens to you, you always have some influence over how you engage with your circumstances. Like, how can I show up more authentically in this relationship? What do I really need to release to move forward? Where am I giving my power away and how I can reclaim it? And finally, what boundaries do I need to establish right now? These questions put you back in the driver's seat of your own life. They assume you have wisdom, agency, and choice, even when things feel overwhelming. One technique I love is what I call the reframe game. Take whatever question is burning in your heart and see if you can rework it in 3 different ways. Let's say you're struggling with the question, will my relationship survive this rough patch? Reframe number 1. What do I need to understand about my role in this dynamic? Reframe number 2. How can I show up more fully in this relationship right now? Reframe 3. What is this challenge inviting me to heal within myself? Each version opens different doors. The first invites self-awareness. The second focuses on the action you can take. And the third looks for deeper growth opportunity. Here's another example. Say you're asking, when will I find my dream job? Reframe number 1. What steps can I take to align my work with my values? Reframe number 2. What skills or qualities do I need to develop right now? And finally, reframe number 3. How can I bring my more authentic self to my current work while I transition? See the difference? The original question puts you in a passive waiting mode. The reframes put you in active creation mode. I also recommend keeping a journal. When something is bothering you or you're feeling stuck, write down your initial reactive question, the one that comes from fear or urgency. Then see if you can transform it into something more spacious and empowering. This practice alone will change how you move through the world, because learning to ask better questions of the cards teaches you to ask better questions of yourself, of your relationships, and of your circumstances. And that skill, the ability to reframe challenges as invitations, problems as opportunities for growth, confusions as the beginning of clarity, that skill serves you whether you ever touch a tarot deck again or not. Let me walk you through a real example to show you how dramatically the energy can shift when we change our approach. I'm going to work with a question that I hear variations of constantly. Should I quit my job? This is a classic yes or no trap. It's asking the cards to make a major life decision for us, which isn't really what it's really designed to do. So let's see what happens when we approach the same underlying concern from 3 different angles. First, let's imagine I'm pulling cards for the original question, should I quit my job? The card I'm drawing is the 5 of Pentacles. In most decks, this shows figures struggling in the cold, often passing by a warm building they can't see or access. This is a card about feeling shut out, unsupported, and lacking resources. With the original question, this card feels discouraging. It may suggest that quitting would lead to financial hardship or that we're not seeing opportunities that are right in front of us. But that's not really helpful, is it? It doesn't give us actionable information about whether to stay or go. Now let's reframe the question. What do I need to understand about my current work situation? Same card, 5 of Pentacles, but now it's reading completely differently. It's pointing to feelings of isolation or lack of support in the current job. Maybe there's a sense of being undervalued or excluded from important decisions. The card becomes diagnostic rather than descriptive. It's actually showing what's actually wrong rather than trying to predict what will happen if we leave. This gives us something to work with. Maybe the issue isn't the job itself, but the lack of communication with management. Maybe we need to advocate more clearly of our needs. Maybe we're focusing so much on what's missing that we're overlooking resources that are available. Finally, let's try a third approach. How can I best honor my professional needs right now? 5 of Pentacles again, but now it's almost empowering. It's suggesting that honoring our professional needs may need acknowledging where we feel unsupported and taking concrete steps to address that. Maybe it's having difficult conversations. Maybe it's building a stronger financial cushion before we move forward. Maybe it's recognizing that feeling like an outsider is actually pointing us towards work where we feel more at home. Same card, 3 completely different readings, and that's the power of how we reframe our questions. Let me try another example, the burning question. Will my ex and I get back together? I'm pulling the 2 of Cups. In most interpretations, this is about partnership, connection, mutual attraction. With the original question, this could be easily read as, yes, you're reuniting. But that's not necessarily helpful or accurate. Let's reframe. What do I need to understand about this past relationship? Now, the 2 of Cups may be pointing to what was genuine and valued in that connection. The real love that existed, the ways you supported each other, the growth you experienced together. It validates those feelings while not necessarily suggesting you should get back together. Third approach. How can I honor what I've learned from this relationship as I move forward? The 2 of Cups becomes about carrying the best of what you shared in future connections, about recognizing your capacity for deeper love, about understanding what healthy partnership feels like so you can seek it with intention. Each question unlocks wisdom from the same card. The first creates anxiety and false hope. The second creates understanding. The third creates empowerment. One more quick example, because I think this pattern is so important to see clearly. The question, why does my family stress me out so much? Let's say I pulled the 8 of Swords, typically depicted as a figure bound and blindfolded, surrounded by swords. With the original question, this may feel like you're trapped by your family dynamics or you're the victim of their behavior. Let's reframe. What patterns in my family interaction could I shift? Now the 8 of Swords suggests we are being more caught up in the old ways of relating than we realize. Maybe we're still responding to our relatives as if we were the teenager we used to be instead of the adults we are now. Final reframe. How can I show up more authentically with my family? The Eight of Swords becomes about recognizing where we bind ourselves with old stories, old roles, old assumptions about how things have to be. This is an invitation to step out of these constraints and interact with a clearer, more adult place. Do you see how this works? The cards don't change, but our relationship to them and to our circumstances transform completely when we ask from a place of curiosity rather than anxiety, empowerment rather than victimhood. Here's what I want you to remember as we close this part of our conversation today. Your questions are prayers. They're not just requests for information, they're expressions of what you believe is possible. When you ask, why is this happening to me? You're praying from a place that assumes you're powerless. When you ask, what is this trying to teach me? You're praying from a place that assumes you're capable of growth. These cards will meet you wherever you are. They reflect back the energy you bring to them. If you approach them with fear, you'll get fearful answers. If you approach them with genuine curiosity about your unfolding, you'll get wise, nuanced guidance that serves your actual growth. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about recognizing that even in our most difficult moments, we still have choices. We can choose how we reframe our struggles. We can choose what we pay attention to. We can choose what questions we ask. And those choices, especially the choice of what questions to ask, shape everything that follows. So next time you feel drawn to the cards, take a moment before you shuffle. Notice what you're really asking for. Are you seeking control over an uncertain future or genuine insight into your present moment? Or are you asking the cards to make your decisions for you or to help you understand yourself more clearly? Trust your own curiosity. Trust that the questions arising from your deepest self are worth exploring. Trust that you already contain more wisdom than you know. The cards are just here to help you remember. Before we close today, I want to pull a card for all of us, something to carry you into the week ahead. Today's collective pull is the Page of Cups from the Light Seers Tarot. I'm looking at this dreamy young man sitting beside the ocean, his hair tousled by the breeze, gazing upward with such open-heartedness, it takes my breath away. From his chest, rainbow sparkles and symbols burst outward like pure inspiration made visible. There's something magical happening here. A floating version of himself hovers above, and nearby, a golden bowl drifts through the air alongside a small pink pig that's taken flight. The sky behind him glows with rainbow tones, and in his hands he holds not a fish like the traditional tarot, but a heart cradled between two glowing palms. This is such a perfect card for where we've been today, talking about questions and curiosity from the energy we bring to our seeking. The Page of Cups is all about emotional openness, but it's also about serendipity and magic. Pages and tarots are messengers, students, the parts of us that are still learning and growing. This particular page sits at his favorite thinking spot, allowing his imagination to play, crushing all the things, all the styles, all the ideas, all his dreams. He's in flow with the universe, simply desiring to create from source. Look at those symbols and sparkles emanating from his chest. That's what's happening when we approach life with genuine wonder instead of demanding certainty. He's gifted easy flourishing because he's not attached to specific outcomes. He knows that a new love may pop in his life at any moment, and the miraculous will happen in most unexpected ways. For the week ahead, this card is inviting us to hold our questions about our work, relationships, and our next steps with the same kind of open-hearted curiosity. This is literally when pigs fly card, and holding it is a sign that unforeseeable yet totally amazing things are coming your way. Maybe it's asking us to get a little bit more playful with our seeking. Notice that flying pig? Sometimes the most profound insights come from the most unexpected channels. Be open to inspiration from the strangest of places and pay attention to those intuitive musings that arrive. The Page of Cups suggests this is a week to cultivate your childlike enthusiasm for the unknown and to bring excitement and curiosity to your relationships in order to welcome a quickening of these wild, eclectic, and colorful twists on your journey. What if instead of grappling so tightly to our need to know, we approach our questions like this page? Not being overly sensitive or trying to control the process, but allowing our emotions to follow the breadcrumbs of joy. The ocean behind them speaks to the vastness of what we don't yet understand, and that's okay. We just need to tune into the feelings of wonder and awe. Allow our sensitive dreamer to dream and embrace the magic while believing in our own unique miracles. So this week, when you catch yourself asking questions from a place of anxiety or demand, remember this image. The young man by the sea, hand in his heart, magic happening all around him simply because he's open to it. That openness, that's available to you too. So that's our time together today. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of how we ask, how we seek, and how we hold our deepest questions. I hope something in our conversation today sparks how you approach not just tarot, but your own inner landscape. Remember, the quality of your question shapes the quality of your life. Next time, we'll talk about one of my favorite topics, how the cards we resist most often carry the medicine we need most. Until then, be gentle with yourself, trust your questions, and stay curious. I'm George Dus, and you're listening to the Tarot Talk Show podcast. See you soon.